I've listened to so many of your podcast interviews, right? And almost all of your guests, right? One thing that they all have in common, and we all have in common, right? It's something that we've gone through. It was an experience that we had, and we kind of came out of that experience a winner, right? We were able to solve that challenge or that struggle, and we thought, you know what? I'm going to go help other people. Right? Majority of people, especially in the health and wellness area, we start that way, right? We solve a problem, a challenge, and we're like, oh, we're going to go solve this for other people as well. But the issue happens is, and this happened for us when we started our business, the moment we kind of put on that entrepreneurship, that coach or that business person hat on, it's like we abandon all of that. And we kind of look at our business as this like entity that is outside of us. And we treat marketing like this, like foreign territory. It's like this with foreign language that we have to go learn. We have to like practice. We have to like copy until we become good at it. And that's where the problem is. And that's what Marketing Your Truth is all about. It's really, to me, marketing is part of who you are. Right? If your expertise, if your gifts, if your talents is, let's say, the heart of who you are, because we're all very heart-based, right? Marketing is your hands and your feet and your eyes and your ears. Like, it's part of who you are, right? It's nothing that you have to go learn. You already have everything you need to know.
Welcome to another episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. I'm your host, Omar Cumberbatch of OmarCumberbatch.com. Really appreciate you tuning in today. We have an amazing guest. Her name is Eli Natoli, and I am really excited to share her with you because she really breaks down a lot of interesting things about marketing. She has a wonderful, wonderful strategy that she shares with all her clients and has been super successful using it herself. Yeah, and really just gonna share a lot of her prior experience and her struggles, and really shows a lot of vulnerability. And I'm so happy to hear her story because it relates to me in a lot of ways, and I know that the audience is going to get a lot of it as well. So please, as always, leave a rating and review on iTunes, because that's the way I'm able to get all of these amazing guests just like Ellie and continuously support the health coaches out there. Also, just real quick, is still up as a offer. Anyone who is willing to preview the book and leave a review when it's officially out, they get a free copy of that ebook. And I'm really excited that that's pretty much wrapped up, and we're going to start getting dates out there soon. So I guess I'll be on the other side of the podcast for a little bit. I'm going to be interviewed regarding the book and some of the details of it, and really get myself out there on the podcast guesting scene. So you might see me a lot around on your other feeds and on some of your favorite podcasters out there as well. So let's jump into the show. Hey, Ellie, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Yes, it's always exciting. I am in love with marketing. I've been doing my stalking of you for the last week or so to get prepared for the show. So I'm really excited to just ask you like a billion questions, but I always promise the guests it's about 30 to 40 minutes, and that's usually the sweet spot. But yeah, I definitely have a bunch of questions, but I just wanted to let you have an opportunity to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do, what really inspired you to take on this work.
I am also very excited to be here and looking forward to this conversation. So for me to talk about what inspired this work, I guess I have to go back to the beginning of what got me here, actually. So, gosh, where do I go? Well, I originally started in medical field. I used to be an ultrasound technician. I just had this love to be in healthcare. And I always wanted to be where the action is. So I ended up working in bigger hospitals like Johns Hopkins and University Center, where there was a lot of things that, happening. But unfortunately, that kind of left me feeling very drained, a lot of late hours and a lot of on calls. And at the time when the .com boost was happening, I had friends who were in IT field and they had this like work and life balance, and they were going on and on about like how wonderful, their life is. And so eventually they persuaded me to make a jump, and I ended up becoming a developer. And I was there until the .com bust happened. And then the work from home was very frowned upon, and the work-life balance was out the window. In fact, if you showed up and worked 8 hours, you were a slacker. That was like the phone days where your phone had to be attached to your hip when you got home. And of course, if you were lucky to get your PTO, your vacation approved, you had to take your laptop with you. So I was back to square one of not having any kind of a work-life balance again. And my husband worked for the same company as well. And during one of our vacations, we were in Cancun and we were both really frustrated. We kind of started fantasizing this idea of what if we worked for ourselves? Mm-hmm. What would that look like? So anyhow, that vacation, that trip kind of planted the seeds for us to start our own company. And a year after that conversation, we kind of both jumped ship. We had our first client. And so the first couple weeks was amazing, right? We would wake up and look at each other like, woohoo, we'll let our bodies wake us up, not the alarm clock, like we get to go to lunch every day, whatever we want. But again, that didn't last long. And I don't know, call us naive or I guess inexperienced. We didn't realize how much marketing was like this big part of starting your own business, right? Mm-hmm. So it was this like, I'm sure a lot of your listeners, coaches, they are dealing with that as well, right? And a lot of my clients as well. Like we end up, when we start a business, we start with this idea of like, I have something, a wisdom, expertise that I want to make a difference and also build a life for myself. But then eventually when that reality comes true, you realize that most of your time is spent promoting and marketing and very little time, using your gifts and wisdom and working with clients. And that was our reality, unfortunately. And so the anxiety, we kind of always found our backs against the wall in terms of, gosh, a client's work is ending and we have nothing in our pipeline right now. Mm-hmm. So almost 4 years of that. And then the conversation of, maybe we should like pack this up and go back getting jobs because our income was so unreliable, up and down all the time. So a couple of times a month, at least, we'd have conversations about one of us probably needs to go get a job, and of course, each of us would want to be the noble person and be like, I'll go get the job and you stay here and hold on to this business, get this going. And then, but deep down inside, you're like, oh, I hope it's not me. I don't want to go work for someone else. Right. So there was this moment, right? And for not to sound too dramatic, right? At the risk of sounding too dramatic, but it really was like that. You know how people, sometimes you hear, they say like, I had this epiphany. It really was like that. It was one of those days where we were really at a place where we had only like 2 months in our bank account in terms of revenue. Our client had ended. We had nothing in the pipeline. And we had gone through all of our savings and it just wasn't working. And I was sitting in front of my computer, like frozen. Like, what do I need to do? Like, there are all these things to do. Do I go post on social media? Do I write an email? Do I create a blog? Like, what do we do? Do we create another offer? And none of it, kind of wasn't working anyways. I had this thought, and I thought, wait a minute, like at the time when we were working for somebody else, when I was working for somebody else, there was this pride, there was this joy, right? When clients came through that company, as a result of what I was doing, these clients were getting, they were living a better life. Their companies were thriving. And yes, when I left and I started a business, it was the idea of having a life for myself as well, right? Mm-hmm. To create abundance and fulfillment. But a bigger part of that was also I wanted to use my gifts, my wisdom, my expertise. And I wanted to use that to get results for people. That also brought me joy. But that had been overshadowed by this anxiety and stress of running a business. And so that day I had this thought about, well, wait a minute. What if I just flipped a script here? What if instead of sitting here frozen in front of my computer and thinking about like, what do I need to write? What do I need to create? What do I need to do to get clients? What if I thought, what can I do today that would help somebody, one of my audience members, one of the people who's listening to me? What can I do today for them to have a better day as a result of what I say, what I share, right? How can I make their lives better? So, Omar, that was almost more than a decade ago, 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. Just that shift alone just changed everything for our business. Everything. You know, we haven't had a day since then where the revenue has been unpredictable because our focus has been changed since that day. Talk about going from a place where you're very confused, very anxious, to a place where you're empowered. You're empowered because you know what you do makes a difference. You're empowered because you know that you have something that people can use. Mm-hmm. Right. So I call that service first, where you lead with service and the rest really does take care of itself. That's been sort of my experience and the experience for the people who have adopted this methodology.
Wow. Well, you know what? That's a great origin story. Absolutely fabulous. And you know what? I appreciate you sharing that you struggled for quite some time with it, right? And a lot of people have a hard time admitting it. And it's really one of my questions that I usually ask a lot of guests is, were you good at business generally? And not saying that you weren't, but you did have a learning curve, obviously, that you had to take on and do well for your business. So what was like the first thing that you learned about the marketing specifically that helped your business take off? I know that your approach is very unique and we'll get into that as well. But what was the marketing component? Because you know, marketing is the key to like everything, right? You have to get these people to know exactly what you're doing. What was the first thing after that epiphany that you had?
So at the end of the day, you're absolutely right about that, right? There are marketing tactical things that you need to do, right? All of us, in order for us to attract clients, we need to do certain marketing tactical things to get in front of that client. We need to engage with that client. We need to nurture them, build relationships. So eventually they feel comfortable enough to say yes to us, right? So those things don't go away. But the problem is the way that we kind of approach each of those steps can make a big difference in the outcome that we get, right? So for a lot of people, they kind of start with the wrong question. And that was the case for us as well. For a lot of people, let's say if they're using social media as a vehicle to attract clients, the question is always, what can I write today? What can I post today where I can get engagement, where this post gets noticed, where, you know, hopefully this leads to someone joining my email list or talking to me or sending me a DM, right? That is the wrong question to begin with. It's so attached to the outcome, to our selfish outcomes. Mm. But if you show up anyways on social media, right? Mm. What if instead of asking that question, you ask yourself, who are the people who want to hear from me today? What do they want to hear from me today? What can I say with this social media post, with this opportunity, with this conversation to help that person? The energy shifts, the approach shifts, right? It's just a totally different approach altogether. And one of the biggest shifts that happens also is clarity for us as business owners. Mm-hmm. Because when you ask the wrong questions, you kind of end up with the wrong answers. But when you ask the right questions in terms of what do they want, you kind of have empathy for them. You lead with what's in their best interest. And so you end up sharing what is needed. You end up positioning yourself in a way that it is supposed to be, right? To make those connections. So it's just a shift in the way that we approach it, not so much the tactical day-to-day activities that we do.
Yeah, that's very interesting because I know that empathy is a big word that a lot of us just naturally have as far as health coaches, and we do want the best results for our clients. I'm really curious about like if you even take it, even an example of like say what that particular person who's looking at your social media and then you did that type of switch. What were some of the responses that you got back, and how like because now with this is where we want this engagement, and what does
Exactly.
that look like?
So let's put it this way, right? And I'm kind of bring it back to where we are today to better answer the question, right?
Sure.
Because things have shifted a lot in the online space for all of us, for all the coaches, for all the people who are running their business. And where we are today, and we're going to notice this as we go to 2025, is that people want to feel heard. They want to feel seen. They want to feel like the person, the brand, the coach, they understand them, that they have their best interest at heart. So, in terms of what shifted, what changed is that, people, your audience, immediately they feel like you're not after their wallets, but you're here to genuinely help them. And that makes a huge difference. I can't tell you how many times, at the risk of not sounding like too egoistic or, like patting myself on the back, but I can't tell you how many times throughout the week I get emails from people who have never really like face to face met me. Mm-hmm. Either they came across my social posts or they have gone through one of my courses and they reach out and thank me, because that course or that conversation or that, email has made a big difference in their lives. So that's the difference, right? People, your audience will deeply feel like you're here to help. You're genuinely here to help them.
That's awesome, and I'm glad that you brought up like the brand, because I think you also to create your brand and have that relationship actually occur organically. You have to you say it's called marketing your truth, right? So marketing your truth and your brand, and you kind of got into the segue of my next question. Like, how do we do that? How do we put ourselves in almost, I think sometimes it's interesting that we have trouble defining ourselves a lot, because I guess we want to abandon that part, right? And it's like, you're the expert and this, that, the other, but your truth is how you became the expert, which, like I said, I always appreciate you sharing your origin story. Can you talk about that as well? How could we better like get into that truth and sharing that with the world?
Absolutely. Like when I've listened to so many of your podcast interviews, right? Okay. And almost all of your guests, right? One thing that they all have in common, and we all have in common, right? It's something that we've gone through. It was an experience that we had, and we kind of came out of that experience a winner, right? We were able to solve that challenge or that struggle. And we thought, you know what? I'm going to go help other people. Right? Majority of people, especially in the health and wellness area, we start that way, right? We solve a problem, a challenge, and we're like, oh, we're going to go solve this for other people as well. But the issue happens is, and this happened for us when we started our business, the moment we kind of put on that entrepreneurship, that coach or that business person hat on, it's like we abandon all of that. And we kind of look at our business as this like entity that is outside of us. And we treat marketing like this, like foreign territory. It's like this with foreign language that we have to go learn. We have to like practice. We have to like copy until we become good at it. And that's where the problem is. And that's what marketing your truth is all about. It's really, to me, marketing is part of who you are. Right? If your expertise, if your gifts, if your talents is, let's say, the heart of who you are, because we're all very heart-based, right? Mm-hmm. Marketing is your hands and your feet and your eyes and your ears. Like, it's part of who you are, right? It's nothing that you have to go learn. You already have everything you need to know. Of course, as business people, we need to know like the basic tools, like, oh, I need to be on social media if you want to, or I need to write emails to build my list, those kind of things. That's like the basic things. Let's say you want to cook, you need to know what your basic ingredients and basic stuff is. But you shouldn't be kind of copying somebody else. You shouldn't be treating marketing as if like this thing that you don't understand. Treat it as who you are, because you know everything there is to know, right? Mm-hmm. Speak your truth. That's all it is. Just show up and speak your truth.
Right.
That is the most powerful way that you can make connection with your audience.
No, I agree, because I think that's the thing. Like when you're trying to be an expert, right? you try to make your faults like disappear. And that's what I found is like the faults are really the thing that's very attractive to people. So like, and again, I keep bringing up your 4-year struggle, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's already making me like connect with you even better, because I know there's a lot of people out there who are on the brink of, turning around, packing it up. And that's kind of why the show was in existence. It was really to maybe have health coaches not just put it on the shelf because they've had some difficulty, and everything that you see on social media makes it seem like it's so perfect. And yeah, that's why I think the vulnerability is really interesting. And I'm glad that you brought that up. I like I said, went through a lot of your stuff, and I have a list of things that I was interested in talking about. But one of the tools and one of the terminology that I think was maybe for a new health coach starting out are these ideas of funnels. And I really was hoping that what we discussed is how does it all play to this idea of the last sales funnel you'll ever need. I found that to be very interesting. So can you talk about that a bit?
Absolutely. So again, when it comes to funnels, the idea of a funnel, right? Oh, it's something that I need. Absolutely, you need a funnel. But what is a funnel? It's really nothing more than you are creating a roadmap. You're putting these pathways, these stones in place and you're also reaching out, right, with your hand and saying to your audience, grab my hand. I'm going to guide you through this path. And by the time you get to this end of this path, you have reached the destination you need to reach, right? Mm-hmm. A funnel is nothing more than that. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you kind of start thinking about, okay, I have, an audience who needs what I have. What is that person, this total stranger who doesn't know me? What does this person need to hear to understand that I'm qualified? I'm the right person. That's the beginning of your funnel. Like, what kind of a content experiences? What kind of touch points? What can you say? Right? Like, make it very, very easy for yourself to be able to pull this off instead of letting the tools and the platforms and all these other things like copywriting best practices and psychology hacks, get rid of all of that. You're a human, right? And you're going to work with someone who's also a human being. Have a conversation, right? So what does this total stranger need to hear or experience to understand that you're uniquely qualified? You're their person. And when you grab this person's attention, what's the next experience that you want them to have, right? What do they need to hear the most from you today to understand, oh my gosh, let me lean in and better understand Ellie or get to know Ellie a little bit more. And then after that, when they're leaning in and you've got their attention, what do you need to do next to be able to help them understand that you're definitely the right person? And what offers can you present to them so it is uniquely positioned for them? It is going to solve their problems, right? Mm-hmm. So in a lot of ways, what I'm asking is forget about tools and platforms and, these this hack and that cheat sheet and that templates. Go back and think about the experience, the conversation. Right? How are you, if that person sat in front of you and they didn't know you at all, what do you need to tell this person? What journey can you take them on from the beginning to the end for that person to kind of, again, to get to know you, to lean into, want to really understand who you are, to be engaged and invested in, oh my gosh, this person really gets me. Mm-hmm. All the way down to, yes, this is exactly the offer that I needed. This is exactly the solution that I needed. What do you need to do? And then once you figure that path out, then decide, where do I need to go to be able to communicate all of that in the best way, right? Mm-hmm. Is it inside a Facebook group? Is it on LinkedIn, right? Do I need to build my own newsletter? Do I need to create an email list? Those to me, they are secondary. The primary is actually figuring out what that path looks like. But again, a lot of us, like when we start our businesses, we kind of flip that around. We get so sidetracked by the tools and platforms and, I got to go do this template and I got to jump on this thing. And before we know it, we have like 50,000 different things. I know I'm exaggerating, but it feels like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's close. I would say it's not too far off nowadays.
Yeah. And then this thing of also this fear of missing out. Oh my gosh, this platform is out and somebody else is talking about this tool. I got to jump on that. And so what ends up happening is we end up with disjointed experiences that we're creating for our audience. Mm-hmm. And we end up creating busy work for ourselves, right? Because we're on YouTube creating content there. And then we have started our podcast and then we have our Facebook group. And here we are on Instagram. And oh my gosh, let's not forget TikTok. But none of it is really doing what it's supposed to do. Right. So I kind of want to encourage your audience. I want to encourage them to think about a funnel, not as tools and platforms, but as a pathway. Right? Just put yourself in your audience's shoes and think about, okay, if this person doesn't know me, what do they need to hear from you to kind of go, oh, this is interesting. I've never heard that. And a lot of that comes in the form of your unique perspective, your unique way of solving the problem, the things that makes you uniquely qualified, right? What do they need to hear from you today? That's where the attraction happens. Mm-hmm. And then what do you need to do next in terms of drawing them in and getting them engaged and interested to say, oh, I want to get to know this person. This person's values and beliefs and mission and purpose, all of that is so much in alignment with who I am. I have this membership and someone who had joined me 2 months ago. And she's in a process of putting together her email campaign. Mm-hmm. And she reached out to me actually this morning and she said, it's really, really interesting because I'm going through the email campaign and you talk about use your emails to communicate your beliefs, your values, your mission, your purpose. And it just dawned on me that when I look around the room inside the membership, because we get together live, she said, every single person in there, their values and beliefs are so much in alignment with mine, with hers, mm-hmm. which is exactly what happens, right? So when you are clear about who you are, what your values are, what your beliefs are, what your purpose is, what your mission is, what your unique perspectives are, and you use those touch points to talk about those, in a lot of ways, it's like you have this antenna mm-hmm. attached to your head and it's like a magnet. It draws similar people who share all of that with you to you. Mm-hmm. You see?
Yeah.
So that's like the next round. And you just keep that going, right? Just the next step after that is by the time your audience is kind of feels like I get this person gets me, we're in total alignment. When you make that invitation, come work with me, I have a solution. It's natural. It's going to happen. It's a no-brainer for them. They're already sold on you.
Right. Do you have an example of a client that you worked with, like how they put together their funnel, and maybe give us an example of what it looked like?
So I kind of want to better understand the question. Is it like, where did I start? What things did I need? So I can better answer it.
So maybe somebody, where did they start? Like they basically just real green. They don't really, maybe do you even have like a situation where they didn't have an offer particularly, and how'd you have to draw it out of them so that you can put them on the path to actually having a funnel that works? Because I think you can't have a funnel without an offer, right? And I think that if you don't, or I should say, if you're really hesitant to have an offer or you're unclear about the offer, then that conversation is probably just over-personated.
Yeah, I love that question so much. And here's why. Because majority of us, including myself, right, when I started a business, we all, because we have like this unique skill set or experience or passion or what have you, we kind of start our business with this idea of, ooh, I'm going to go sell this.
Yes.
This is the offer I'm going to sell, right? And that's the wrong place to start, unfortunately. unfortunately. So no matter who comes through the door and what the reasoning for them was to work with me, the very, very first place, right? Even if they have an offer, even if they have a funnel, it doesn't matter what their situation is. The very, very first step that I start everybody from is this. I kind of have created a 3-part questionnaire. Okay. And these questionnaires is not your typical, let's get to know your audience and, like focus questions, but it is really meant to go through very, very deep into your audience's everything, how they feel, who they are, what's going on with their lives, what's keeping them stuck, what's derailing them, like very, very deep. And normally what I do with them is you got to like take your time to go through this, right? Mm-hmm. It's not something you breeze through in an afternoon or anything like that, like weeks of going through it, coming back to it, going through it, doing some research. And I kind of have my kind of methods of how to do the research if you need to. Mm-hmm. And by the time you kind of go through these questionnaires, you have landed in a place where many things you've uncovered. Number one, you're very crystal clear in terms of who your audience is, who you're for and who you're not for in terms of who they are, right? Mm-hmm. You kind of get crystal clear about what's going on, what's, all the stuff that I said in terms of what's their roadblocks, what's derailing them, why are they stuck, why they haven't been able to solve the problem for themselves. Like you're going to have so much clarity. Right. Okay. And then out of that, you kind of then think about, okay, is this solution even the right solution for them? And really get honest with yourself about if you're missing something or this solution is not the right solution, how do you position it? How do you package it? How do you create a different solution so it is the answer to that audience's problems? Mm-hmm. That it is going to get them to where they need to be, right? So all of that without even lifting a finger or doing anything, you got to do that. That's so essential, So again, I encourage anyone who is right now, if they're like stuck and they're like, I don't know, and nothing's working, go back to square one. And treat it with, again, that word empathy. And we're all of us, especially in health and wellness, we're so heart-centered. So get out of your head and go to your heart and really feel that person's struggle, really empathize with them. Mm-hmm. Because when you do, you're going to see eye to eye. Okay. And you're going to really deeply see them for exactly what's going on. And you are going to intuitively know what they need to hear from you and what they need to be able to get to that desired outcome. Okay. So that's the very, very first step. And then after that, it's like, okay, what are the logistical things that come into the picture? But I want to pause there and see if you have any questions about that part, if you want me to go deeper there or clear up anything there.
No, I totally get it. I think that the audience will definitely get it as well. And I'm glad that you even kind of just reiterated the fact that, you may have something, but it has to kind of be fine-tuned a bit. And there's nothing wrong with fine-tuning it to just present a better offer that's going to lead to more clients down the road. And that I totally get it.
Yeah, absolutely. So out of that, I mean, I'm also very logistical. I'm very logical, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, you need a strategy. And in terms of strategy, I'm really, really huge about building your audience. You have to build your audience on a land that you own. I've always been big on email, like building your own email list. Mm-hmm. So, and everybody's going to be different. Not everybody's audiences is going to be on, a single platform. So figure out what's the best platform first for you to show up, and just use one platform only in terms of social media, or one vehicle. Maybe social media is not for you, and that's okay. Like I, for the longest time, just did joint ventures. There was a part of my life that I just did, podcast guesting as a way to get in front of my audience. You could be on stages and speak. There's so many different ways to get in front of your audience. Mm-hmm. But if you want to use social media, pick one social media platform. Right. Not only to build your authority, your expertise and showcase, your expertise, but also to be able to get in front of your audience. So figure out who your audience is. And you're going to know that once you go through that deep dive and discovery, mm-hmm. and you're going to show up there And with the goal of, again, you're not there to bombard them with how amazing you are. You're not there to talk about how fantastic your solution is, but really show up genuinely to show them that you're here to serve them, right? Use your social media posts, your content to help them understand that you get them, right? Talk about their roadblocks, talk about what's derailing them, talk about your unique perspective in terms of what's happening to their situation. Talk about, again, your unique views on why haven't they been able to move forward, get to that solution. Like, these are all amazing ways for you to show up on social media and show your audience that you get them, you understand them, you're on the same page with them. And at every opportunity, try to see if you can bring them over to your email list. So lead magnet, definitely a must have. I love that. My go-to is also what I call serve live events, not webinars, serve live events, where you essentially you kind of bring a group of people to have a conversation about your life-changing solution, right? You bring a group of people to kind of tell them about a life-changing solution. And that's the fastest way to build your audience, to build connection, to build trust, all in a weekend, essentially. But whatever works for you. Lead magnets are good. Traditional lead magnets are good. Live serve events, amazing. I love that. So you want to kind of build your audience, again, because it's going to give you more opportunities to kind of communicate with them, to get them to get to know you. And that's, again, when you're using your content pieces to talk about your beliefs, your values, your mission, your purpose, your unique perspectives through your email campaigns. And of course, if once you've gone through the initial discovery, the offer at the end, the invitation for them is going to be very much in line with exactly what that audience needs. And it's going to be a no-brainer for them to say yes to you.
Right. Oh, excellent. Thank you for sharing. That was great. So like I said, I always promised about 30 to 40 minutes, and it's been so good. It just went by like that. So we're at that point. So I want to give you an opportunity to share how to get in touch with you. I know you have a wealth of information. Like I said, your website's awesome. And what you have so many things that I think health coaches would be able to utilize to just grow their business and just be better at marketing. So if you could just give us your social media handles, if you have any that you prefer, like this one, let's say the single ones that you are really involved in, but of course your website and any other ways that we can keep in touch with all the great things that you're doing.
Absolutely. So my website is elinatoli.com. And like you said, I have a ton of information and ton of resources, free resources for them, to kind of, if they're interested in, and about how do I do service first, or how do I, lead with, marketing my truth. That's definitely a one-stop shop for them to get all that information and different resources. I'm very active on LinkedIn, and my handle is Eli Natoli. So, and then also I do have a book, that I published back in 2017. And to this day, it's still going strong. And, I would encourage anybody, it's for free. I would encourage anybody. It's a very small, short read to go through it. And it just gives you an idea, cause you asked about the funnel, how to marry both the service first mentality into building your funnel. So if you go to elinatoli.com/elevate, they should be able to get a free copy of my book as well.
No, thank you. Appreciate that. This is definitely worth the email address that you just throw in there and you get that free book. So it's definitely worth a read. So I appreciate it. And listen, you've been fantastic. I want you to enjoy the rest of your day. And I thank you also for shifting the times. I know that you were so gracious to do it on the fly. So I definitely want to shout you out for that as well.
It definitely worked out for me as well. So I appreciate it. And thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I really appreciate you.
No, likewise. All right. Have a great rest of the day.
You too. Bye now.
Bye-bye. Hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. If you did, jump over to iTunes and leave a rating and or review. It goes a long way in helping get this message out to our fellow health coaches and people in our industry. Also, if you can, jump over to my website, omarcumberbatch.com, where I give out a lot of freebies, including my 5-day sugar challenge for people who are having issues with sugar. And also for health coaches, I have the book, Hidden. It's the 6 not so obvious ways to get your clients unstuck. Have a great day.